Welcome back to our new series celebrating the full release of Captain of Industry. We're playing on a very cool looking map, Insula Mortis, also a big map with a lot of challenges. Follow this series to learn how to master the game or just enjoy this fun ride. Let's dive in and welcome to episode 14. As always, let's start with a 1 minute recap of the last episode. We did a lot, and in particular we started to take care of our population a lot better. We added an hospital, and for this hospital we needed medical supplies. This is this new block over here. It's taking some corn, then we transform the corn into corn mash, then this corn mash is fermenting into ethanol, and then this ethanol plus a couple of things like steel and plastic is going to help us to make a couple of things. First, the disinfectant, second, the medical equipment, and all of this is transformed into medical supply. So we have this good medical supply over here that can make actually 48 per minute. So that is quite good because right now we need 10 per minute. We also help their health by decreasing the pollution. If we click over here on our population overview, we used to have a lot of pollution like water pollution, also pollution from the waste, and of course air pollution. We still have quite a bit of air pollution, but we've decreased it. On the other hand, the water and the waste pollution is completely gone. And this is thanks to this block over here, where we're doing two things. One is we're transforming our wastewater back into normal water thanks to some chlorine and sand. And the second is over here, we are incinerating, burning, if you wish, all of our waste with some fuel gas that is actually coming from this one over here, right? We're transforming the sludge into some gas over here. So this is feeding back into this one. So it's great to have them next to each other. Last but not least, as I said, we also started to decrease slightly our air pollution, but not fully yet, because we're using those exhaust scrubbers, which are transforming a lot of exhaust into a bit of pollution plus a lot of carbon dioxide. Unfortunately, right now, we cannot do much with the carbon dioxide. So this is creating again more pollution, but in the future this will be really good to make some graphite. And with all of this, we will also continue to increase our population. We're almost at 2,000, and with this we have a number of unemployed workers thanks to 8 block level 3. The problem is that with all of this, our people have been eating a lot more. So the vegetable is very low. And even some of the other things like the bread has been decreasing. We don't have reserves of wheat, for example. So we're clearly going to have to make a big change on the food. And this is what we've started over here. The goal is to provide all 11 types of food. There's one we haven't unlocked yet, which is the sausage. And actually we haven't unlocked the cake, but we are incapable of making them. Because to make cakes, you need sugar. And the sugar is actually still locked over here under the research lab level 4. So sugar and sausage still missing. But I'm still going to build a blueprint that is going to support all of this. And also, instead of supporting just one block like this, it's actually going to enable me to support 2 of these blocks, so almost 4,000 of population, with the food consumption increased by 50%, so that I gain 2.5 unity on top. Because I think soon we're gonna need more unity to start using more and more the things on the map. We have started to use the oil rig over here, and that's 1.6 of unity, for example. But over here, we have also the coal mine that I think we're going to start using. There's also a number of contracts that I want to start using in the future. So without further ado, this is the map when we ended episode 13. Let me show you how the map is now. And here it is, ladies and gents, again, quite a few changes. We've done a lot of digging, a lot of terraforming, but also a lot of new buildings. In particular, as promised, we have a new food factory over here. We've also doubled the size of our city. But before we look into this, let me show you what has happened on the rest of the map. We're digging more and more into the coal mine. We have cleaned it, added more walls over here. We've also continued to dig more and more into this mountain. Remember, this used to be a gigantic mountain. Now it's pretty much gone, and we're dropping a lot of this stone over here to expand our city slowly but surely. Similarly, I've started to dig over here to get all of the sand. Remember, this used to be water. We dropped a lot of soil and rocks to make sure that our city doesn't flood, but we also left a lot of sand, in particular underground. There's a lot of sand underground. So that is why I am now making sure that we are digging and we're putting all of this sand into some reserve, some loose storage. This is costing quite a lot of red parts, but I think it is worth it. I want to make sure we get all of it because it's not like there's that much. There's also some over here, and you can make sand, but still, I don't want to waste it. We also have 2 new forests over here. This was one of the last few places where we still had a lot of fertile soil, so I planted some new forest. You know, we have one forest control tower over here and another on this side. Each one has a tree planter and 2 large tree harvester. And with this, my wood reserve are back to a high level, more than 2000, which will be important in the next episode. Won't tell you why now, but for the next episode definitely will be key. I also had to move a couple of productions, for example, our vehicle depot, because it was taking good fertile soil space that I want to use for farms. This is one of the first farms, we're gonna talk about it just in a second. But before, let me show you something important. You may remember that this whole thing over here, instead of level 3, which is the sort of normal level that we started with, we put everything at level 2. At level 2, you're not gonna get flooded, and it is actually one less level to put, right? So it's easier when you're trying, for example, to go into the sea. And slowly but surely, I've been starting to move. You know, you can see that all of this now is at level 2. This part over here is still at level 3, but all of this there at level 2. Over here too, this is at level 2, this one's still at level 3, but over here at level 2. So slowly but surely I'm trying to get the whole map at level 2. But of course, when you already have building, that's hard, right? You need to first delete them and then get to level 2 and then rebuild them. So it's taking a bit of time. And also what's quite important is I have to make sure that I get the fertile soil where I want it. So for example, over here, you can see there is a lot of rocks. So this won't be fertile. So what I had to do a lot, in particular over here, but also for my big farms in the back, is I had to dig, you know, 1 or 2 levels of this rock, take it out, and then put back soil. The way you do this is you're going to have a control tower like this. You select the area where you want to make sure that you put only dirt, and then over here, you know, you make sure that this is only dirt and compost. Compost is the same, it's fertile. You make sure that you don't put, for example, rocks or slag. On the other hand, let's say I want to expand this into the sea, and I don't really need it to be fertile. I can do the opposite, meaning I can have a control tower where we select this area, and that's what I did, you know, on many of those places over here. And here I'm gonna take everything except the dirt. So here we went down to level 2 over here, and then back here, this is also level 2. All of this is level 2, and all of these farms are at level 2. But before we talk about those farms there, indeed there is a completely new one on this side. We used to have a water production based on basic distillers. This is obviously not so great. So now I've moved it into an advanced thermal desalinator that's taking the seawater and a bit of steam to make the water and the brine, right? The seawater is coming from the seawater pump, super aligned, all good, right? It goes directly into this one. We have 2 of those boilers to make the steam for those 8 thermal desalinator. And then on the outside over here, we have the water at level 0 and 1. And we have the brine that is a level 2, the brine being the sent into this. Because I'm already making a lot of chlorine and salt, I don't really need more brine anyway. So this is just sent into the water, but there's no pollution, so that's not a problem. And so with this, we're making tons of water, right? Some of the water is prioritized to go into those boilers, but the rest goes into this huge fluid storage that will be used for some of those farms. For now, I only have 2. In the future, we could also have a bit more over there or potentially there. But yeah, 2. And these farms are not gonna be for food. This is actually gonna be for something else. The first one over here, we're gonna focus on canola. The second will be for sugarcane once we unlock it. So with this, we're gonna be able to create the cooking oil and the sugar. So again, right now we only have half of it, but we can do the other half on that side. So what is happening? I mean, we're making the canola 15 per minute, so that's pretty good. That goes into this temporary storage to make sure we always have some storage. And then it goes into this mill that's taking 16 to make 12 cooking oil plus 4 animal feed. The animal feed is transformed into this mixer, into compost, and then the compost is dumped anywhere into my city. Right? And the cooking oil is stored into this fluid storage before we're going to send it with a truck into my food factory. I know this is a bit far, but I wanted to have sort of a dedicated one. This way it's not mixing with everything else. And of course, don't hesitate to add to my Discord community. You can find the link in the video description below to find the quick blueprint to make this happen on your own map. Then you may remember that we used to have a lot of farms all around here, and we actually had the belt that was coming somewhere around here. So right in the middle, it was a big waste of space. Instead, now the belts are coming really next to the city. It's maybe not that pretty for the people. At some point I thought maybe I'll put some walls, but I thought that would be even worse. So yeah, we have those belts and it's going into our new food production. We also have moved all of our farms into greenhouse. In the future we'll get greenhouse level 2, but this is already a pretty good upgrade. Right now we have 8. We're going to continue expanding. As you can see over here, we are not finished, right? I still need to drop more soil over here. And this is the trick I showed you before, right? We have this mine control tower that is only allowing dirt. So this is going to be all dirt pretty soon. And versus before, it was basically only rocks, you know, I was making only rocks, not wasting my dirt most of the time to enable. So yeah, I think we're gonna add one more there and maybe also one more line. For all of those farms, we're gonna need water and fertilizer, right? The fertilizer for now, there is a fluid storage over here to just take the fertilizer that we're making from, refinery, right? We're making fertilizer over here, but we're not making that much. So we're gonna need to talk about this. Similarly, we used to take our water from this small aquifer over here. That will never be enough for so many farms. So I've also created another, it's basically the same as the one I just showed you of water factory. We have all of those seawater pumps going into thermal desalinator. It requires a bit of steam, which comes from those 2 boilers over here. And that's why we have the coal coming from there, right? And then the brine is sent back into the sea and the water into those 2 huge fluid storage, right? And then this water is basically being sent into the farm. This is what's at level 1, while the fertilizer will be at level 0. So we have, as I said, the fertilizers going, for example, this way, then it connects at level 0. The water is over here at level 1, right? And then it connects into this one. And it continues the same over here, and it can continue if you add more over there. Similarly, if we follow these blue pipes, it's the same over here. We're connecting all of them. And then on the other side, we have the outputs. For the fruits and vegetable, we have the one at level 0, which is the unit belt, right? The flat conveyor. And then at level 1, we have the U-shaped conveyor. This is quite compact. As you can see, we have just 3 tiles. The tile in the middle, tile number 2, let's call it, is the tile where we have the belt. And then the tile 1 and 3 is how do we connect. So obviously for the one at level 0, that's pretty easy, just straight. And for the one at level 1, we just do this small thing on the side. I will of course put again the blueprint on my Discord community. So we're gonna have a lot of farms, we're producing now new things. You may have seen, right, we're starting to produce a soybean. We also have some fruits. So we're also starting to produce some of the new things that we have unlocked here in the past. But as I said previously, this is actually the one part that is not fully finished. I still need to build a few more farms and optimize exactly the consumption. I know how much I need of each of the different products like potatoes and corn, I know that, but I haven't yet really optimized exactly where I'm producing what and with how much fertilizer to exactly arrive at those numbers per minute. Which is why you'll see that not all of my markets are full. For example, the potato is quite low. We are almost empty versus the corn and the bread is actually very full. We have a lot of bread, almost 10 years of bread. That's pretty good. Just before we move into the start of this episode, my food production over here, I did want to show you that basically the oil pollution, quarter where we're taking care of the wastewater and our actual waste from our people. This used to be there. Now this has been moved to this corner over here, and I actually build all of them because we have increased our population, right? So it is not working at 100%. This is empty most of the time, this wastewater treatment, for example, but this way we're ready and we have tons of workers anyway. That's not a problem. Okay, so we have 11 markets level 2 over here. Each is focused on one production. For example, the first one is tofu, second one is potatoes, etc. And you can also easily see it over here, right? We have the tofu, potatoes, snack, corn, etc. The only one missing is this one over here, the sausage, because we haven't unlocked it yet. And also the cake over here, we have put it, but it's always empty because we don't have sugar for cake. But everything else, has actually started, so that's pretty great. Now let me show you a bit how it works. So as I initially said, we have at level 1 the U-shape, at level 0 the normal flat conveyor, right? Then over here for this bridge, they just go next to each other. They go next to each other, follow the city all the way over here, right? And then they come under this bridge to go at the beginning. This is the beginning of the blueprint. Now we also need a couple of inputs. We need, for example, the sugar that we don't have yet. we need the cooking oil that I showed you before. We also need a bit of salt, and we're creating this no problem with our refinery. A bit of plastic also coming from the refinery. A bit of sulfur also coming from the refinery. And lastly, a bit of limestone. For many of this is going to be very small, you know, like we're talking about 6 or 10 per minute at the maximum. But it is still important, obviously, to have them. You don't want to have trucks delivering one by one. And then lastly, there is an output of compost over here that, you know, we're dropping somewhere. We're also going to need water and chlorine. The water is actually going to go into the food, but also into, you know, my city, right? We need water over here. And the chlorine is also coming over here into the waste water treatment. So we don't need a truck to deliver it. This is just coming across. The water is the same as always. You know, we have those thermal desalinators over here. So nothing special, but don't hesitate to tell me if you have any questions. What is a lot more interesting is once we get over here, you know, what is going to happen? Basically, what is going to happen is we have the two main lines that are, as I said, at level 0 over here. And these will have from time to time a sorter, either a U-shape if it's for the U-shape conveyor, or a flat one for the flat conveyor, to take out resources, do something with it, and if it's full, also send it back. I'll show you that in a second. And then at level 1, 2, and 3, this is basically the other resources, things like the oil or the salt that are going to come in whenever they're needed. So for example, for this one over here, we need sulfur and limestone. So you can see, for example, the limestone is going at level 2, the sulfur is going at level 1, and then it's crossing over this main belt. Okay, so let's go one by one. The first one is indeed the soybean. So everything is coming over here, and then the soybean is going to go this side. Everything else will continue, right? Then we have this balancer where the priority is we want the soybean to go into this storage, loose storage, to make sure we have as much as soybean as possible, to then go into the food processor, which will take soybean plus sulfur and limestone. That's what you can see over here, right? The 3 inputs there, plus a bit of water, which is what I have at level 3 over here, right? And with this, we're going to make two things, the tofu and the animal feed. The animal feed is going this side, I'll show you in a second, versus the tofu is this belt over here at level 0, then going quickly level 1 to go above our main bus into the storage, and then from the storage into the food market. So this is how we're making tofu, and with this we can make 12 tofu per minute as long as we have 9 soybean. Then if all of this is full of soybean, we do have another output, which is this one, which basically says the soybean will go back into the main bus. I'll go back into the main bus and I'll show you at the end what will happen with it. Now we continue. The next one is potato. We have as much as potato will come this side. Now again, we have two outputs that are prioritized and one that is not. The one that is not is easy. It's this one that's going back into the bus. So if everything is full, then we can send it back into the bus. But before we want to prioritize to send it over here and over here there. This one over there is to send it directly into the market, right? We do need to give potatoes to our people. That's one of the need. And the other one is to send into this storage there with a couple of other things. We're going to make some snacks. We're going to take the potatoes. We're going to take the salt, which is this one over here, coming from there, all right? We're going to take a bit of oil, which is that one there, coming from there. And we're also going to take a bit of plastic, which is that one there, coming from here, to make the snack and the biomass. I could do something with the biomass, but it's so small that I just decided, okay, I'm just gonna burn it for now. You could again do something with it. And for this snack, this is what's going over here at level 1 to go into the next reserve, right? So the third market is the snack. Then we continue with the next one, which is the wheat, right? We have the wheat over here that is going to come into this belt. Again, there is one prioritized output, which is at the bottom, and one that is not, which is to go back into the bus, right? We're going back into the bus if all of this is full. Now, what is that? Well, this is 2 meals to make some flour and animal feed. So we were already making some animal feed over here, remember, right? This will be added to the animal feed coming from both of these into this belt over here. On the other hand, the flour will go into this unit storage over there. We're gonna do a couple of things with the flour. The first one is we want to make bread, right? Flour plus water equal bread. Water is coming from the main pipe as always. And for the bread, when it's finished, right, going back at level 1, going across the main bus into a storage. This is actually not the next storage. We looked at snack. In the middle, we have the corn. because over here we're taking the wheat, but just after I'm taking the corn. Right? We're taking the corn where the priority is to send it directly across to be fed into my food market, and then if it's full, we're sending it back into the bus. The reason I put the corn in between is just because I had the space, right? We're taking a lot of space with the meals, and so we had space for one of these. We will also be doing a few other things with the flour, which are those two buildings over here. One is the cake. We're gonna need flour plus the sugar, cooking oil, and eggs and fruits to make those cakes. We're missing the sugar right now, but this is already prepared. You know, this is this belt over here. It's going all the way over there to that sugar one. Then the flour, it's what's coming at level 0. The fruits is this belt over here coming at level 1. The oil is over here. And last but not least, the eggs. The eggs, they're coming also at level 0, but from this side. We'll talk about it after. Then there's a second building over here that is paused that will take the flour. This is actually for the sausage. We haven't unlocked it yet, but you can look into the research tree. To make sausage, we're gonna need salt, flour, and meat trimming. So this is exactly prepared. We have the salt over here, we have the flour, and then we have the meat trimmings over there. So it's already, as soon as I get the recipe, we can activate it, and then those sausages are going to come over here into this one. Now before, there's a couple that we've missed, right? We've missed the eggs, the vegetables, and the fruits. So the vegetables and the fruits, it's a bit the same that what we've been doing, but on the other side, right? We're gonna have those flat sorters on the other side that are going to go into those flat balancers. The priority is to feed, for example, for the vegetable over here, for the fruit over there. And then if this is full, you can go back into the main bus. For the fruit, there is also a small difference that we're sending a bit of fruit this side for the cake, right? And then the last one we missed was the eggs. So the eggs are coming from those farms, but at the end, as you can see, it's going to go into this storage where we're sending just a bit into the cake and the rest will go all across over here. Then the cakes are going this side, and the last one is the meat. So the meat is over here, where we have two of these. The first one is going to actually make the meat, taking chicken carcasses, water, and salt to make the meat and the meat trimming. So the meat is going directly over here. The meat trimming is actually going on this belt over there to be fed into my sausage in the future. But there is a small problem because with this production over here, we're making only 6 meat trimmings for 30 chicken carcasses. For these sausages, we're gonna need 24 meat trimmings, which is why we're also going to have another food processor, which is going to take chicken carcasses and just make them into meat trimmings. So with this, we're going to make enough meat trimmings for the sausages. This is this one over here. It's not working, it's paused right now. And you can see it has only one input, which will be those chicken carcasses. With this, we'll make even more meat trimmings, which will go over here, right? Go all the way over there. And then those meat trimmings, there is a balancer where the priority is you go into this to make my sausages. But then if it's full, we can burn them. Right? We can burn the meat trimmings. But obviously to make eggs and chicken carcasses, we need some chickens, right? Which is why we have those 6 farms over here. Right now, a number of them I have paused because my production, as I said, is not fully at equilibrium in terms of the farms. So we're not making enough food yet for those farms. But in the future, this will be what's needed to really feed 4,000 of population with those 2 edicts. Remember, with the plus 50% of production. So what is happening in those farms? Well, there is 2 inputs. One is the animal feed, the second is the water. So water, it's easy, right? It's coming from over here and staying over here at level 1. The animal feed is at level 0, but it's actually coming from the other side. It's coming from over here. So what is happening with this animal feed? Well, basically, this is what's happening at the end of my buses. You know, remember all of the overflow, for example, all of the corn that we're making on top of what's needed will continue on the bus. And at the end, it will go into those mixtures. So we're taking the potatoes, corn, the wheat, and the soybean. So basically everything that we're producing, we're going to transform it into animal feed, right? This animal feed will come on the other side over here and go over there. There is a balancer so that first it goes into those reserves. I want a lot of reserves of animal feed, and this animal feed will then go directly into my farm. There is, by the way, another balancer over here because I want to prioritize all of the animal feed that we're making through the meal or through the food processor over there. Otherwise, this will stop, right? So this is prioritized over there to be fed before all of my reserves. But just in case my reserves are very full, which will happen, I guarantee you at some point, I have also this balancer there to send all the extra animal feed into those two mixers to make more compost. And this compost is going into a belt that we already had before. Because remember, we also have another bus, which is the bus for the vegetable and the fruits. And unfortunately, it is not possible to transform these vegetables and fruits into this animal feed. What you can do though is put them in a digester, and that's what we're doing on this last belt over there, to make some fuel gas and compost, which is why again we have the compost belt is one belt over here and going all the way back to be sent anywhere into my city. Then with those two inputs, the chickens are gonna start to grow. How do you get your first chickens? You have to go on the world map or press F3 to trade them. You know, one of the settlement will trade the gold parts against some chickens. So you trade a few and then they will start growing. For example, in this case over here, I'm getting 20 chickens per minute. But I have also enabled the slaughtering, because if you don't, you're only going to get eggs. Now I enable it so that with this, I'm going to get eggs and also some chicken carcasses. You can see, for example, 10 chicken carcasses at the maximum, right? We're at the maximum over here. And so that means 60 in total, which is exactly what we need, right? We need 30 over here, plus 30 for this one that will get a lot of meat trimmings for sausages. And that is what's coming at level 2, right? We have the eggs at level 2 over here. And at level 3, we have the chicken carcasses. They all go this side and go into those reserves. So yeah, this is my magnificent food factory. And as I said, I actually calculated everything. I know what is needed to make this happen. I know, for example, I'm gonna be producing an overflow of eggs. I know how much oil I need per minute to feed all of those people. I know how much fruits. Now, the only thing that's missing is to make sure that the farms are producing the right amount of those base material like food or corn. For example, fruits, I know I'm gonna need around 18, 19 to be safe. And therefore now I need to make sure that, you know, if I sum all of my greenhouses that are producing fruits, they will be producing this amount, which is not the case right now. Again, I know that. But hopefully by the next episode, I can show you that we're producing everything at equilibrium, that all of those things are full, but at the same time that this thing is not getting stuck somewhere. That we have enough mixers, for example, to take care of all of our surplus, that with this we're making enough food for all of our chickens, etc, etc. This layout will be, as always, on the Discord community. But I'd love your thoughts. You know, what do you think about this? Do you see any problems? Do you have any ways to make this even better? I really love your thoughts because it took me quite a while to get this going, to get this prepared. Don't hesitate to smash the like button, and I hope to see you next time.